Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So just the other day, the Executive Vice President of Sales of Toyota North America, Jack Hollis, had indicated that the Land Cruiser is going to come back to the US market. To be fair, he also said it would likely be a few years before we see it again. But I take that if the executive vice president of sales is indicating that, we can expect it to happen, guys. And for full transparency, even during my time at Destination Outdoors, speaking with the Toyota executives there, they kind of indicated that it isn't forever gone in the U.S. market, right? Without definitively saying anything, they did hint at that too. So I'm confident that the Land Cruiser is coming back. It's just a matter of waiting a little bit. And by that time, even if there are kinks with the newer twin turbo V6 power plant, if there are kinks within that, they'll absolutely have that worked out. Not to mention, with it being the Land Cruiser, that is their flagship SUV, their longest standing platform that they've ever offered, even in the U.S. market, right? I think they're going to work out the kinks, and it's going to be phenomenal if there are kinks with that platform. Everything that I've read and seen, people absolutely love that 300 series. So I'm excited for it to finally come to the U.S. market. But what does that mean for the 200 series? What does that mean for the market, the value of those? The values of those skyrocketed for a couple of reasons, right? I mean, the used vehicle market went very high. We saw that happen. That skyrocketed. Everything you used went high. But then you add the fact of it being no longer available to the U.S., and people love exclusivity. People love the heritage aspect of it. Same goes for the FJ Cruiser, right? If you get FJ Cruiser Trail Teams or Trail Teams Ultimate Edition, the values of those skyrocketed because they're no longer available to us, right, in the U.S. And Americans, more than anybody, love the forbidden fruit. It's like the Toyota Supra or the Toyota Supra, the GTR, R34, R33. I mean, people love that in America. Fast and Furious didn't help with that, but you get what I'm saying, right? So the forbidden fruit thing tied to the fact that used vehicles skyrocketed this last year or two. Between those, the 200 series went out of reach for a lot of people, and I don't think understandably so, really, because although it's a Land Cruiser, I think it was almost overpriced with its MSRP of $86,000 or $89,000, depending on which one you got. The Heritage Edition being the $89,000 one, right? And even then, it was overpriced. And I remember my first Land Cruiser that I purchased, the 2020, if you guys remember, I paid, I believe it was $80,000 for that one, and even then I thought I overpaid a little bit back when I bought it, because dealerships couldn't even sell those things. And it's not because they weren't such an amazing vehicle. They're super robust, super durable, and tested, battle tested, and it has an amazing nameplate to it. They just didn't compare, at least to the eyes of most Americans anyway, to the other vehicles available on the market for the same price. So they couldn't sell them in the U.S. And that was a partial reason why they ended up pulling it from the U.S. market, because they just weren't selling. They were selling anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500 units every year in the U.S. And only those 4,500 units were happening toward the end there because they did away with it. And people knew that they were going to be doing away with it in the U.S. So again, the forbidden fruit thing came into play. They wanted to get the last of the last Land Cruiser, which from a value standpoint, it would have been good. But because that 300 series is coming back to the US, the Land Cruiser is coming back, it's no longer as special to have purchased a 2021 Land Cruiser or Land Cruiser Heritage Edition, whatever it is. So the values of those are going to continue to go down. I'm confident in that. You can already see it right now. If you hop on AutoTrader or Cars.com, you'll see so many that have been posted for months at this point. And so many dealerships, they have a hard time dropping the price because they probably paid a lot for them, on trade-in or whatever. They have a hard time dropping the price, and auctions aren't paying out for them because people don't buy them, unfortunately. But you do still have a few dealerships out there in particular that are trying to collect them all and hike up the prices and inflate the price. I mean, like, what was that one? RMR 4x4. They're hiking the price and overpricing the crap out of them. But even they are starting to drop the prices. I think they are even seeing the writing in the wall, unfortunately. So do I recommend buying a 200 series right now? I mean, it really depends. If you are the type to, and I kind of am the type to really value that 5.7 liter V8, then yeah, I mean, and you got the bulletproof 8-speed, buttery smooth 8-speed automatic transmission connected to it. There's a lot to love with that particular platform, that 200 series. But if you are the one to really want to buy it for the sake of residual value, I would absolutely wait. So I've already hinted at this a couple times in my previous videos, but now, especially hearing that the Land Cruiser is, we can confidently say it is coming in a few years, I would say, I would absolutely wait. I would wait till spring time frame at very least, maybe even a little bit later, give it until this time next year perhaps. I bet you're easily going to get a low-ish mileage Heritage Edition 2021 for in the 70s, in the 70,000s. You already see them right now in the low 90s, high 80s with very low miles. So they're already starting to creep down. So it looks promising. If you do want to eyeball that V8 200 series, just give it a little bit of time. The time is absolutely coming. But it does beg the question too, should you get that, or should you try to get the last of the 4Runner here? So that's why I'm kind of showing it with the 4Runner. You got the 5th generation 4Runner that will likely have, I'd say, at least one more year is what it's looking like right now. They kind of keep teasing the fact that it will be the final year of the 5th generation 4Runner each year for the last 2 years anyway. But I think we'll see a 2024 4Runner. So pretending 2024 is the final year of the 5th generation, that does kind of beg the question, do you get that? Or do you aim for that 300 series? Granted, the price gap is going to be very different. We're probably looking at, $95,000 for that 300 series, depending on which variations we get. If it is like historical context, we typically get the best trim, which I don't necessarily like that, but that's what we tend to get in the US market. It'll likely be like mid-90s. But if by chance we happen to get the other trims and variants with maybe different engine options, that'd be really cool to see that for the Land Cruiser in the US. So if you can get one for maybe $15,000 or $20,000 more than the 5th generation 4Runner, would you get that? Would you get the 300 series if it was a bare bones edition of it? Would you get that over the last wave of the 5th generation 4Runner here? So those are things I think about, because I can confidently say that the next generation 4Runner, it being a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, that takes a ton of the appeal out of the equation for sure. I think right now, the way that the current 5th generation, like the 2023 4Runner TRD Pro, is spec'd out with the just enough tech, I think, to be nice. This is pre-2020, so it doesn't have just that additional bump of tech. I think the 2023 model and 24 is the perfect balance of it being simplistic enough to really wear that Toyota nameplate with honor, as well as remaining super reliable with that bulletproof 4-liter V6 5-speed automatic transmission. So it's a tough one. I mean, if you're going to spend 60 grand on that 2024-ish, just under probably, if you get a TRD Pro anyway, you're going to get that last wave, or would you get the first wave of the US version of the 300 series come 2024, 25? Let's say 25 comfortably. So what do you think? What would you do if you're in that predicament, and why? So forgive me, I know I just blabbed a lot in this video, but I want to get your thoughts. Land Cruiser 300 series coming to the US. What are your thoughts on that? And if you are an owner of the Land Cruiser 200 series, I don't know, I mean, what's your aim? Are you going to try to bump up to the 300 series? Or are you going to try to keep your 200 series and run it to the ground, as you definitely can? So I appreciate you watching as always. Until next time.